hashtag LALATE, hashtag write the bill. I make the offer to the Republicans, but will they accept? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoons LALATE, our 2-hour programming block that starts every day at 3:30 with the check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent assistance. If you've not followed what happened in the last hour, I made an offer on behalf of Democrats to write the 3 standalone bills and present them to a Republican senator to have him or her introduce it to the Senate tomorrow. Here are the details, and here's the shocking developments on the second stimulus check. Everyone has said you're going to get a second stimulus check. Everyone said they want to give you a second stimulus check, but the powers that be have not been able to do it. And ultimately, the blame game has erupted overnight. With this channel detailed how Nancy Pelosi is really center and core at why why 3 standalone bills have not been done. The call for action has been 3 standalone bills, a standalone bill for a stimulus check, so that your stimulus check would go out right away. A standalone bill for an extension of FPUC benefits, now called LWA, and a standalone bill for rent eviction moratoriums and mortgage forbearance. It seems so inherently simple. Everyone agrees upon it. Republicans agree upon it. Democrats agree upon it, but no one's doing it. So earlier today, Steve Scalise, who's a wonderful Republican senator, very well regarded by both sides of the aisle, tweeted something along the lines of, well, Democrats have still not done the standalone bills. My response was Republicans haven't either. So hence came the movement. I wrote this, and I tweeted Steve Scalise, Steve Mnuchin, and Mark Meadows. And I said, okay, here's the offer. LALATE's offer to Senate Republicans, and this is what it said. And I'm repeating it right now as a call to action and my request upon Senate Republicans. LALATE's offer to Senate Republicans. If Senate Republicans, Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, want standalone bills ASAP, LALATE, me, will write up 3 standalone bills, stimulus checks, FPUC, and eviction moratorium, on behalf of Democrats. Your Republican senator calls me up tomorrow, Monday, to negotiate. We finalize it Monday, and then that senator introduces the bill Monday to the Senate. If the Democrats, I will get the Democrats to support the bill in the House and the Senate with my viewers, who have now amassed to 208,000 viewers in less than 111 days, 3.5 months. They are bipartisan viewers who want one thing: stimulus relief today. Well, they actually wanted it 3 months ago, but they need it right now. I will get Democrats to support the bill in the House and Senate without Nancy and Chuck. Done, bipartisan, and American. What are the 3 standalone bills? Let's go over them shortly. We already know this because I've been saying it 1,000 times, but I'm going to be saying it right here as well. First, standalone stimulus check. A standalone stimulus check will be sent to Americans. The standalone stimulus check will be $1,200. Whether or not you're a dependent or a non-dependent, it will be a household of 5. So up to a household of 5, $1,200, $1,200 times 5, $6,000, up to a household of 5. If you are a minor dependent, $1,200. If you're an adult dependent, $1,200. We all know in the first stimulus package, the CARES Act, there was a mistake. It did not pay adult dependents anything. This time around, all dependents would get paid, and the amount would be $1,200. I understand I understand the Republicans have proposed $500 for dependents. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think I don't think Americans think it's fair, and I'll tell you why, but we can negotiate this tomorrow, is because there are adults, like veterans, who served this country very well for 30, 40, 50 years, and because of their decision to do tax reporting as dependents on their son or daughter's tax return. They got nothing the first stimulus check. They just got nothing because the CARES Act said nothing for adult dependents. And so this time around, the Republicans want to offer them $500. I don't think that's fair. Out of 2 rounds, they're getting $500. It really should be $1,200 stimulus checks for everyone, family of 5. Very, very simple. Second, standalone FPUC. It would be a standalone bill to extend FPUC, which you know in the CARES Act was established, ran from March to July, expired under Nancy's watch while she was on vacation, and $600 per week. Here's my proposal. I know you have offered $400 a week. Nancy's adamant at $600 a week to January. I think there's sometimes a little bit of discussion about when it would expire. Here's my offer. $550 a week until sunset. I'll go over sunset in a second. But I think this is a very good point for us to agree, or at least to start the negotiations. She's at $600, you're at $400. I think this is, what are we doing here? We're $100 apart. And let's be very frank. I mean, we really think that this pandemic's not going to go until June of next year. So we're really only talking about a certain number of weeks. Of course, this would be retroactive. It would be retroactive back to the date in which FPUC expired. And then states would have to certainly calculate out anything that they may have gotten for LWA and subtract it from that. But they could figure that out. That's not a big thing. Finally, standalone eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance. No evictions and no foreclosures until sunset. And we're done. We're literally done. We are done. Bipartisan American. Done. You would introduce it to the Senate as a Republican bill, and I would get Democrats in favor of it. We would not need Nancy or Chuck, because they are more interested in doing Broadway bills. Hey, standalone Broadway bills and chasing the postman. They're not interested in giving this relief now. Let me talk about sunset. What is sunset? Sunset is when these things will expire. I know Steve Mnuchin. I greatly admire his understanding of economics. And because of my business background, we have similar mindsets. I think there has to be an economic measure for when things expire. So I propose the sunset to be 3 consecutive weekly jobless claims under 500,000, or the pandemic ends, whichever is later. I think that's very fair. When the pandemic started, we were at jobless claims every Thursday at 200,000 or 220. In March, we've had 20-something weeks at over 1 million. Last week, we went back up. The week before, we had 900. So I think 3 consecutive weeks at 500, or until the pandemic ends, whichever is later, is a great point. I just think this is so obvious and so easy to get done. Here's my call to action. My call to action is, I certainly beat up on Nancy yesterday, but I got to beat up on the Republicans today as well. So Steve, if you're watching this, Mark, Mitch, I know some of you are watching it because I see you literally use my language and sort of use it in your benefit against Nancy, which I applaud you for because it's true. But Steve's remarks earlier today, who I greatly admire, Steve Scalise, I greatly admire. He says, Democrats have not done a standalone bill. Well, Republicans haven't either. And let's be frank, what has happened over the last 5-6 weeks. We have had heroes. We've had a few Republican bills. We've had a few Democratic bills. But we haven't had anyone write standalone bills except Carolyn Maloney, who's more interested in chasing the postman out of New York and doing things for the state of New York. So no one has written this. And I'm sitting here around, I'm looking, I'm looking for Bill. I can find Gates. I can find de Blasio. I can find Maher. I could find Murray, but I can't find standalone bill, and I need to find 3 standalone bills, and hence I'm writing them so you don't need to find them. We can get this done. This is so obvious. This is so easy. It's very troubling that you sit here on a Saturday. And I have viewers who have been with me, as I told you, this channel launched on April 25th. I have viewers who in just the last 3 weeks became homeless. Just in the last 3 weeks became homeless. I have viewers that send me their eviction notices that were not homeless last week are homeless today. I have viewers who are watching this channel from their car, who don't have money to put a single ounce of food on the table, who are watching their car and their car has been repoed. I mean, the situation is very, very dire, and no one is speaking on behalf. No one is getting these standalone bills done. These are very, very simple. As you know, 2.5 weeks ago, Steve, the president introduced those executive orders. One was supposed to be an eviction moratorium. It's not an eviction moratorium. We all know this. I mean, we all know it. It's not an eviction moratorium. It doesn't stop evictions. There's 40 million evictions currently pending in the courts across the country, the worst since the Great Depression. I mean, we have to stop this. FPUC, we all understand that the president did an extension of enhanced unemployment benefits, which is LWA, $300 a week, where the states can add $100 on top of it. Kentucky, Montana, someone told me West Virginia, I think, overnight, may have now jumped in to also provide the $100. But FEMA says, hey, FEMA, which is underwriting the LWA, says, hey, we only have money for about 3 weeks, and we may not have money for anyone past the 10th state that got approved. So, I mean, this is not a solution that's going to get us to December. I mean, it will barely get us into September. And so this is why everyone's asking for this. I know you said this, but let me repeat it for my viewers. Here's what Mark Meadows said in the last 24 hours. I even think that we can come up with an agreement on stimulus checks to Americans and enhance unemployment. Those issues are not as divisive as we may think. I don't think they're divisive. I think they're very clear. I mean, you were at 200 a week, and then you were 300, then you're 400. Nancy's been at 600 till she's blue in the face. I mean, what, $100 off? $100 off, let's be very frank. When you're $100 off and you're paying people in July when they need the money, is incredibly more beneficial to someone to get the check in July than not get a deal and have those people wait to October to get the money, or September where they go 4 weeks without a payment. What's important to understand is not getting the payment is so outrageously worse than not getting a deal at all. So I agree with you. Mark also said, Chief of Staff. By the way, I know your name, unlike Nancy, who calls you whatever his name is. I mean, this is so petty. I mean, it's really so petty on a Saturday morning. I mean, have an extra cup of coffee. Let's at least pass what we can agree upon. Yes, I agree that, Mark. Let's do 3 standalone bills. Donald Trump, the president. I'd like to see it to be very high because I love the people. I want the people to get it. You know, the economy is going to come back. We've saved millions of lives, but now we got to take care of the people in the meantime. I love the last 3 words, in the meantime. That's correct. In the meantime means now. August, not September, not January, as Nancy suggested overnight. This channel absolutely went into an uproar when Nancy Pelosi, after chasing the postman for a week, was interviewed by press and was asked, what are you doing with stimulus package? She says, I'm getting ready for January. It's shockingly horrid. This came after the following. And this is why I'm certain that whatever you and I do, I will get Democratic citizens and Democratic congressmen, rep and House, House and Senate to get this done. Here's what Nancy's dealing with. She does not have a unity of her caucus. She told the press reporter in that same interview, I have my caucus behind you. You don't, Nancy. I mean, every single interview she's been given the last 24 hours is, do you realize, Nancy, you don't have your caucus behind you? Yeah, I do. No, you don't, Nancy. Let me start. Lou Correa, Democrat serving Anaheim, California here. I'm in Southern California, by the way. I'm here in Los Angeles, so he's close by. My job is to keep fighting to make sure the next package of COVID relief comes to happen. South Carolina, other coast. Joe Cunningham, Democrat. It's been frustrating to me watch this unfold. It's been very frustrating to my viewers as well. They're homeless now. I would encourage everyone to remain at the negotiating table. Remain at the negotiating table. I would encourage even more. I would encourage to write the bill. Hashtag write the bill. First hashtag is LALATE, LALATE. Hashtag. Next hashtag, write the bill. I don't think we need to sit at tables anymore. I think we need to write bills and get them introduced. I mean, we agree. Why, we can go and have lunch afterwards, but we don't need to sit at a table. We agree upon this. I encourage everyone to remain at the negotiating table and hammer out a deal, recognizing that not everyone's going to get everything they want. Do not let perfect be the enemy of good. I love that. It's just wonderful. Then there's the Democratic fractions that literally are telling Nancy, stop this, and she's not listening, and saying her caucus is behind her when they're not. Blue Dog. 17 House members of what's called the Moderate Blue Dog Coalition have signed a letter putting on pressure for Pelosi, and and Mitch McConnell to do standalone bills as the House prepares to vote this weekend, this was written on Friday, on a bill to protect the United States Postal Service. We urge you to restart bipartisan, bicameral negotiations on a relief package that's commensurate with the scale of the public health and economic crisis. Her answer was no. Her answer was no. And then she said, I appreciate their input, but no, thank you. And I'm getting ready for January. How about you retire now? I mean, there has been, of course, those rumors from her daughter that Nancy wants to retire. How about you retire now? How about you sort of step aside and let the electorate of Democrats, the moderates of Democrats, how about you let the citizens of this country who are not really bipartisan at all, they just want relief. They just want relief. How about you let them take care of it? That was the first group. Next group, 113 New Democrat Coalition. Hardest name to say ever. New Democrat Coalition, which I always seem to refer to it as New Coalition Democrat. I mean, it sounds like a Bobby Brown group. And it's led by Derek Kilmer out of Washington. Loved him in Batman. Chairman of the New Democrat Coalition, along with Vice Chairman Scott Peters here in California. He's out of San Diego. Congratulations, San Diego. Your number of cases of COVID dropped, apparently. So apparently they're off the watch list. They can go back to the gyms today. Some of us need to pump some iron after hearing all this crap. Joint Economic Committee Vice Chair Don Beyer out of Virginia, number 8. Even as our areas of community work to safely reopen, millions of Americans are still relying on unemployment insurance to make ends meet during the public health crisis. As I head to D.C. to vote on Postal, I believe we need to take swift action to extend unemployment insurance. So he wrote Nancy a letter on Friday and say, hey, we need to do a standalone bill on unemployment extension. Her response is no. No, sorry, no. And the problem started on Friday, and it is now continued Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Americans understand when a politician says something and, maybe they misspeak or they say something and maybe it was taken out of context. But Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have now made clear that they're not going to do anything for the Americans until January. On Friday, Nancy Pelosi was issued a press statement from her website, and she appeared on PBS NewsHour, and she said it's not in her strategic best interest to negotiate at this time. She said that twice in both the press statement and the interview. Not in her strategic interest to negotiate at this time. Now, viewers heard this and literally blew a stack. This channel does about 1.5 million views every 24 hours or 48 hours for a channel that's less than, about 3 months old. You could literally hear smoke across the western United States passing to the eastern part of the United States, as viewers heard that it was not in a strategic interest to get stimulus relief as they're now homeless. But we gave her the benefit of the doubt. And so we waited to Saturday as her and Carolyn Maloney had this postal matter. And we thought, okay, maybe, she's in town. Maybe when Mark Meadows goes to her office, which I know you did, that she'll answer the door and talk to you. She won't. She didn't. She also said, whatever your name is. And we thought, okay, maybe she'll address the issues. Maybe, she'll say, hey, I'll keep the House still around in town. And, we can go meet and have coffee and talk. And Steve and Mark and I can just, figure this out. No, she said, I'm getting ready for January. It was those words that became the call to action of this channel, which never was a political channel. I mean, this is a channel about helping people figure out how to get loans and pandemic relief and very simple stuff and keeping them positive, telling a few jokes. And suddenly I have this elected official who's telling people who are homeless, penniless, going through their life savings on the street, wait till January. Now, that was then. It continued Sunday. Now, as Chuck Schumer did a Broadway bill, a standalone bill last week to save Broadway, when Nancy Pelosi is appearing on Broadway's revival of The King and I, because she's reading the same script on a daily basis, and she did again this morning on CNN, saying, I passed a bill on the House 5 months ago to save America's children. She has said that expression, save America's children, every single interview. She has literally repeated the same script every single interview. I mean, the script might have been interesting the first time around, but I don't tend to hear the sequel or the third version every single time. The point of the matter is, we got what's going on here. There's a bailout of states of $1 trillion. The bailout of states is for states that had fiscal problems before the pandemic, New York, Cuomo, and now you want to hold up people's standalone stimulus checks, standalone FPUC, standalone eviction moratorium because you want to bail out Schumer's state. Okay, let's assume you're right in bailing out Schumer states. Let's assume there's nothing wrong with Schumer states. Let's assume that money is totally right. It's not urgent. You can go do that after we do all this. Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, allocated, billions and billions and billions of dollars for New York and other states to take loans. So why are they sitting back and waiting for free money? Give me some of that free money while you're having millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans, hundreds of millions of Americans become homeless. Call to action. Hashtag LALATE, hashtag write the bill. Go to the Friends channel. 200,000 subscribers last week. Thank you so much. We're trying to add 25,000 in the next 2 weeks. I appreciate your support. Let's continue to do it. I think we're at about 8,000 in the last 2 days. That's really, really good. Let's keep it up. Hit that subscribe and alert button. The subscribe button's red. It's probably more red after you watch this video. Hit that bell button. You may want to bang it a few times. You're just so pissed off at this point. But I want you to stay motivated, inspired, and focused. And coming up next is on Afternoons LA is Hazard Pay. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay smiling, and stay with LA for more.